such a huge data set that there's no way that a human or even a team of humans can look at all of it.
Quantum, you have this thing called a qubit, which can be 0 and 1 at the same time.
The biggest threat to the world's electricity isn't war or weather. It's a question you asked AI. Every time you ask an AI a question, somewhere on this planet, a warehouse full of machines drinks power. Not a sip, a gulp.
How many nuclear power plants can we make in 1 year where we're planning this 10 gigawatt data center? Gives you a sense of how big this crisis is.
In 2024 alone, data centers in the United States consumed 183 terawatt-hours of electricity, roughly the same amount of energy used by the entire nation of Pakistan in a year, and that number is projected to more than double by 2030. Here is the hidden contradiction at the heart of the 21st century. The technology we built to make everything smarter is threatening to overwhelm the very grid that keeps the lights on. Power stations designed for a world of factories and households are buckling under a kind of demand they were never built to handle, the demand of artificial intelligence.
Would not be surprised if the industry would like us to make this format and this structure an industry standard in the future. This is completely revolutionary.
And yet, buried inside this crisis is something stranger. The same technology devouring all that energy may be the only thing capable of saving the grid. This is the story of how AI broke the world's power supply and why it might be the only force that can fix it. To understand the crisis, you first have to understand the machine. Most of the world still runs on power grids designed in the mid-20th century. Picture a giant wheel, a few massive power stations at the center, coal plants, gas turbines, nuclear reactors, pushing electricity outward along spokes to millions of homes and businesses. Centralized. And for decades, it worked. But the 21st century does not behave like the 20th. Today's demand is wildly unpredictable. A single viral moment online can spike server loads across 3 continents in under a minute. Cloud computing, crypto mining, and now AI training have introduced load patterns that legacy grids were never engineered to absorb. The result is a growing efficiency gap, a mismatch between how power is generated and how it is consumed. In February 2021, Winter Storm Uri slammed into Texas and exposed how fragile a centralized grid can be. Over 4 days, more than 4.5 million homes and businesses lost power. The grid came within minutes of total statewide collapse. At least 246 people died, many from hypothermia in their own homes. Texas is the largest energy producer in the United States. The failure wasn't a lack of energy. It was a grid that could not adapt to a sudden, extreme shift in demand. Texas is not alone. Rolling outages have swept through South Asia. Electricity prices have surged across Europe. In Ireland, data centers already consume 22% of the country's total electricity, more than all its households combined. Now layer onto that pressure another force, climate targets. Governments worldwide have pledged to cut carbon emissions, yet the explosive growth of data-hungry technologies is pushing energy demand in the opposite direction. Think of it like trying to drain a bathtub while someone else turns the faucet on full blast. The grid is caught between two futures, and something has to give. This is where the story turns. The same artificial intelligence that is stressing the grid is now being deployed to manage it. Traditional grid operators rely on historical averages to predict demand, essentially educated guesses based on what happened last year. AI replaces that with advanced load forecasting, machine learning models that analyze weather patterns, industrial schedules, time of day behavior, and real-time sensor data to predict exactly how much power will be needed, down to the minute and down to the neighborhood. Prediction is only the beginning. AI also enables real-time monitoring, a constant digital nervous system stretched across the entire grid. Sensors embedded in transformers, substations, and transmission lines feed data to algorithms that detect anomalies instantly. An unusual voltage spike at 2 in the morning, the system flags it before a human operator notices. Then there is automation. In a traditional grid, responding to a fault takes minutes, and a local failure can cascade into a citywide blackout. With AI-driven control systems, the response is measured in milliseconds. Compromised segments are isolated automatically. This transformation has a name, the Internet of Energy. Powered by IoT sensors and AI, it enables peer-to-peer energy trading. A home with rooftop solar can sell excess power directly to a neighbor. The grid stops being a one-way highway and becomes a living, adaptive network. But here is what makes this story global. The shift is not just technical, it is geographic. It is redrawing the investment map of the world. For decades, the centers of digital infrastructure followed the centers of financial power: Northern Virginia, London, Frankfurt, Singapore. AI is rewriting those rules. A new pattern is emerging, what analysts call data center belts, and the money is flowing in directions that would have been unthinkable 10 years ago. Start in the north. The Nordics, Sweden, Finland, Norway, Iceland, are leading the charge. The Nordic data center market was valued at over $7 billion in 2024, projected to nearly double to $15 billion by 2030. In April 2025, CoreWeave committed $2.2 billion to build 3 new Nordic data centers, all powered by renewables. A month later, Brookfield pledged $10 billion for a 750-megawatt AI facility in Strängnäs, Sweden. The reason is almost absurdly simple: cold air. Cooling is the silent budget killer of every data center on Earth. In the Arctic Circle, nature does the cooling for free. Power costs in the Nordics run 40 to 50% lower than the European average. Combine that with abundant hydroelectric and geothermal energy, Norway alone generates over 95% of its electricity from hydropower, and the Nordics offer something no engineering can replicate: geography as competitive advantage. Now look south, to the desert. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are making a different bet. In 2024, Saudi Arabia earmarked a $40 billion fund for AI. Its sovereign wealth fund, valued at nearly $1 trillion, created a company called Humane, with the goal of making Saudi Arabia the third largest AI provider in the world, behind only the United States and China. Humane has already broken ground on 2 campuses containing 11 data centers. The UAE launched a 5-gigawatt AI campus, the largest outside the United States, backed by OpenAI, Oracle, NVIDIA, and SoftBank. Nations built on oil revenue, now investing in the currency of the next century: computing power. The pattern extends further. Parts of Asia, Malaysia, Indonesia, northern Japan attract investment with cool microclimates and cheap renewable energy. In the US, expansion is moving inland. Rural communities in the Midwest and Southwest, once left behind by the digital economy, sit at the center of a land rush. Cheap land, abundant renewables, fiber corridors. The money follows the megawatts, and the megawatts are going green. But there is a shadow side to all of this. Every smart sensor, every automated control system, every AI-driven forecasting model is also a potential doorway for attackers. The more digitized the grid becomes, the more vulnerable it is to cyber attack. The dangers are layered. First, data privacy. Smart grids collect granular information about energy use: when you are home, when you are away, what devices you run. In the wrong hands, that data becomes a surveillance tool. Second, the AI systems themselves introduce new attack surfaces. A compromised forecasting model could deliberately mispredict demand, triggering cascading failures across an entire region. Third, the scale problem. A centralized grid has a handful of critical nodes to defend. A decentralized, AI-managed grid has thousands. In 2024, a minor disturbance at a data center cluster in Fairfax County, Virginia, caused 60 facilities to switch to backup generators simultaneously, shedding 1,500 megawatts, roughly the entire power demand of Boston, in an instant. It nearly triggered widespread grid failure. AI is both the shield and the sword. The same technology that creates these vulnerabilities is also the primary tool for detecting and neutralizing them, but the defense is still catching up. And so we arrive at the contradiction that defines this entire story. AI can cut carbon emissions across industries. It can optimize shipping routes, reduce agricultural waste, forecast renewable energy output, and transform how cities consume power. But the machines that do all of this require staggering amounts of electricity to build, train, and run. Training a single large model like GPT-4 consumed an estimated 50 gigawatt-hours of energy and generated roughly 552 tons of carbon dioxide, the equivalent annual footprint of 121 American households. And training is only the beginning. Inference, every query, every image generated, every answer delivered, accounts for up to 90% of a model's total energy consumption over its lifetime. Globally, data centers consumed around 415 terawatt-hours of electricity in 2024, about 1.5% of all the electricity used on Earth. The International Energy Agency projects that figure will more than double to 945 terawatt-hours by 2030, roughly the current electricity demand of Japan. From 2024 to 2030, data center electricity consumption is expected to grow by 15% per year, more than 4 times faster than every other sector. This is the sustainability paradox. AI promotes a greener world, while simultaneously demanding more power than almost any technology ever built. Some studies show the net impact is positive. Others warn the sheer growth of AI infrastructure could outpace the emission savings it enables. The answer, so far, lies in geography and intention. By concentrating AI infrastructure in regions with cool climates and abundant renewables, the Nordics, parts of Asia, the American heartland, the industry can reduce the energy overhead of cooling while ensuring the power consumed comes from clean sources. The question is whether deliberation can keep pace with demand. We built the electrical grid to power a mechanical world. Factories, streetlights, refrigerators. We never imagined it would one day need to power thought itself. That is what artificial intelligence is, at its most fundamental level. Thought made physical. Ideas that require copper and silicon and kilowatts to exist. And the more we think with these machines, the more power they consume. The story of the AI power boom is not a story about technology. It is a story about choices, where we build, what we power, and whether we can be disciplined enough to ensure that the most transformative tool humanity has ever created does not consume the planet it was designed to help. The grid is changing. The map is changing. The question is whether we will change fast enough to keep up.